Y'all ready? I would like to call the regular scheduled meeting for Fairfield County Council to order Monday, June the 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m., Winsboro, South Carolina. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we are down to the approval of the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 on approval of the agenda. Next, we are down to invocation. Apostle Marlon Gatson from the Spirit of Truth Ministries. Thank you, Mr. Gatson. Next, we are down to the approval of minutes for the Budget Work Session 2, April the 3rd, 2023, and the regular meeting, May the 22nd, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 approval of minutes. Now we are down to number 6, public presentations. 6A, proclamation recognizing the retirement of Peggy Hensley, our Fairfield County Auditor. Dr. Roberts.
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of council, I will read the proclamation before you. Proclamation recognizing the retirement of Peggy Hensley, Fairfield County Auditor. Whereas Peggy Hensley started her employment with Fairfield County in September of 1982, and she started in the auditor's office in July of 1983. She was promoted to deputy auditor in 1997, to acting auditor in 2003, and elected to auditor in November of 2004. Mrs. Henley has worked tirelessly to ensure that the accounting records, operational data, and financial records for Fairfield County were accurate and in line with generally accepted accounting principles. She has been an exemplary leader, demonstrating integrity, objectivity, support, and knowledge, and skills in audit principles. Ms. Henley has been married to Richard Hensley for 53 years, and they have 1 child and 2 grandchildren. She is also a member of the Stephen Green Baptist Church. She loves to read and work puzzles in her younger years, she was a fantastic basketball player at Winsboro High School, winning numerous trophies and voted most athletic and most valuable. Many of her colleagues would comment on how fast she was on the court and that she was also the shortest. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Chairman Doug Pauley, District 5, and the members of the Fairfield County Council would like to recognize and congratulate Peggy Hensley on her retirement. Thank you for your years of service to Fairfield County, and we pray God's continued blessings upon you and wish you all the best in your retirement with lots of time at the beach with family and friends. So ordered this 12th day of June 2023.
Ms. Hensley, thank you for your dedication to Fairfield County. Next, we are down to 6B, budget presentation.
Good evening, Council. We've had 4 budget work sessions to discuss, the 2024 budget. Entities and departments presented their budget requests, including any capital requests. So we also did discuss a possible millage increase. And we prepared a presentation to discuss that. Ms. Williams?
Yes, it is. Okay. All right, good afternoon to the public and also to members of council. During the two of the previous budget work sessions, discussion came up about the county's current millage rate and the recommendations for increases to the county's millage rate. And during that discussion, it was also asked to have a more detailed presentation on what is a mill, how is it calculated, how that would have looked like on different values of homes. And so we put that presentation together. We'll go through it tonight before we get to the rest of the budget discussion during second reading. So several of the goals that we hope by the end of this presentation is that everyone will know what is a millage, how is a mill calculated, the effect of a millage on a residential home, and our millage comparison to other counties, not just counties here in the Central Midlands regions, but counties around the state, because questions have come up about our millage compared to other counties as well. And we'll give you a copy of this presentation at the end. We'll also email it out to you so you can have it virtually. So what is a millage rate? This is from the South Carolina Department of Revenue. The millage rate is the tax rate set by each taxing jurisdiction, such as the county, school district, or municipality. So the county has a millage rate, the school district has a millage rate, and if you live within a municipality, such as Winsboro, Jenkinsville, Ridgeway, within Fairfield County, they will have their own separate millage rate as well. The millage rate is multiplied by a property's assessed value to determine what that tax rate is. And I'll go through that in subsequent slides as well. So the state of South Carolina sets what the property assessed values are. So for residential homes, which also would include mobile homes if it's a primary residence, the assessed value is 4%. That is not set by the county, that's the assessed value rate that's set by the state. Commercial and non-owner occupied residential homes, so if it's someone's second home, that's a 6% assessed rate. Manufacturing is a 10% rate, and agricultural is 4 or 6%. So depending on the type of category of property that you have, that is that assessed rate for the property when the millage is calculated. I'm going to focus for this presentation on the 4% owner-occupied home millage rate, but you would use the same calculations if you wanted to look at a commercial, residential, or secondary home. This is a breakdown of the current Fairfield County millage rates. Our total millage is 182.3 mills. That includes the county's general fund millage at 161.5, the hospital/ER mill, the separate mill that's set up just to go, that was going to the hospital and now going to the ER, that mill. Our county debt retirement, for instance, the bonds, any debt that we have outstanding, there's a mill that's dedicated just to pay off that debt. And then library operations. The library is funded by its own separate mill at 4.1 mills that just go directly to the library for their operations. This 182.3 does not include if someone lives in a municipality or the millage associated with the school district. I am focusing just on Fairfield County's millage rate, not the school district or town of Winsboro, town of Ridgeway, or town of Jenkinsville millage rates. But if a resident was within one of those municipalities, that millage rate would just go on top of this. So the calculation of a millage, and I do realize it may be hard for you all to see and maybe easier for the audience on the larger, but I will go through it. If you had a home or a mobile home that had a market value of $50,000, the assessment ratio for that would be 4%. We move the decimal over, 0.04. So that means the assessed value for the $50,000 home would be $2,000. So if you have a $50,000 home or mobile home, the assessed value, the millage will be calculated off of $2,000 because of that 4% assessed value. At our current millage rate of 182.3, that means the county's millage is $364.60 for a $50,000 home or mobile home. It doesn't matter if it's a home or a mobile home. If you're looking at a home owner occupied at $100,000, that assessed value is $4,000. At our current millage rate, that's $729.20. A $200,000 home at a 4% assessed value, that's $8,000 assessed value for a $200,000 home. At our current millage rate, that's $1,458.40. A $500,000 home has a $20,000 assessed value and a county millage of $3,646. And then $1 million home, because we do have some $1 million homes as well, at a 4% assessed rate, that's a $40,000 assessed value for $1 million home. At the current millage rate, that's $7,292 for $1 million home at the current rate. So although we've gone over the current millage rates and the current assessed values, we want to touch on the reasons why the recommendation for a mill increase came up and that we discussed during the budget work sessions. That's not me. Can y'all move to the next point? Is the pointer stop?
Maybe the slide.
Thank you. So Fairfield County has not increased its millage rate since 2016, with the exception of a half mil increase for the library in the fiscal year 2023, the current fiscal year we're in. So from 2016, we have not done anything to the county's millage rate. Although, as we discussed during the budget work sessions, the county's obligations continue to increase. Next point. This includes increased costs for equipment, supplies, the services we render, the South Carolina State Retirement System that we're obligated to pay into, the insurance that the county pays into for current and retired employees, along with the addition of a lease for the building that we're in, the Fairfield County Government Complex. Because of these increased costs related to services, equipment, retirement, and so on, capital equipment was not budgeted in the fiscal year 22 or 23 budgets. The revenues and the requests just did not add up, and therefore capital could not be included in those previous budgets. Council was able to make some capital requests through some non-recurring funds, which I'll talk about later, but it was not in the budget. Because of this, administration during the budget work sessions recommended an 8 mil increase, which would bring the county's total mills from 182.3 to 190.3. That's the total overall mills. And again, this does not include school or municipal, any municipality mills. They would raise their millage based on their own judgment and assessment. The county does not touch those. All right. So at the proposed rate, I'll go through it just like I did with the current rate. If you're looking at a $50,000 home or mobile home at the 4% assessment ratio, which is still the $2,000, at the new millage rate, now the millage would be $380. For a $100,000 home, the new millage rate will be $761.20. For a $200,000 home, the millage rate would be $1,522.40. For a $500,000 home, the millage would be $3,806. And for a $1 million home, the millage rate would be $7,612. The differences, which is on the separate slide, for a $50,000 home, that means a millage increase of $15.40. For a $100,000 home, a millage increase of $32. A $200,000 home, an increase of $64. A $500,000 home, an increase of $160. And a $1 million home, an increase of $320. There we go, okay. So two things I want to bring up. One is the homestead exemption. So residents who are 65 and older or disabled receive a $50,000 off the appraised value of their property. So for instance, if your home is valued at $100,000, it automatically is deducted to $50,000. So that automatically goes in with the homestead exemption. There's also, bear with me, local option sales tax, which the county passed several years ago. This is a general sales and use tax on retail sales, with some exceptions. This tax is imposed to reduce the property tax burden on residents in the county. So last year in 2022, the local option sales tax brought in $2,583,480. And so that $2.5 million was refunded back to the taxpayers of Fairfield County. So although we're showing if council approves the millage increase, what that increase will look like on the different values of home, that's not taken into effect if they qualify for homestead exemption because of age or disability, or the local option sales tax, which that depends on how much is calculated or collected this year. That will determine how much is given back to each home. Some comparison to our neighboring counties. Again, Fairfield County, I told you our current millage, the 182.3. I would like to also point out that we do not have any additional mills or fees that are associated with our tax bill, whereas all of our neighboring counties do. So if you're gonna do an apples, you can't really do an apples to apples comparison. So for instance, Richland County's base millage is 126.4, but they have 5 additional mills that are calculated outside of their base millage, along with 7 special fees. So they have a millage for their rec commission, a millage for their stormwater services. They have a millage for bonds. They have separate road maintenance fees or different type of fees for different subdivisions. So to calculate their total tax bill amount, you would have to do the base millage plus add on those additional mills and those additional fees. We do not have additional mills or fees outside of the school district or the municipality. The same with Newberry County. They have a base millage of 133, but they have 3 additional fees that are charged on their tax bills. Kershaw County's base millage is 102.3, but they have 1 additional millage and 6 additional fees. And Chester County's base millage is 183.8, but they also have 5 additional mills for 5 additional services. So that goes on top of their base millage rate. So that's how, if you wanted to see what a tax bill in Kershaw would look like and a tax bill in Fairfield, you would have to add those additional mills and fees as well. It's come up about the county having the highest per capita assessed property. And so we went to the South Carolina Association of Counties. We received the information from their county profiles report that was published in 2022. It was based off the per capita assessed property from the 2020 census that the state of South Carolina also put out. And so I have the listing of the top 10 counties, the 10 counties with the highest per capita assessed property. Fairfield is not number 1. Fairfield County comes in number 6. So I just wanted to have that clarified as well, that we do not have the highest per capita millage in the state. If we don't approve the millage, if council decides to not accept the recommendation, some of the recommendations that we would come back with to make the budget balance would be, first, cutting agency requests. That's about $2 million in requests that the county could consider taking off. Capital purchases come completely out as they have in previous years. Fire trucks, the ambulances, public safety vehicles, heavy equipment, that's currently recommended. Not doing the cost of living increase for employees, which can also affect recruitment and retention. We had a new hire that was supposed to start today, but they called and told us that they found a job with better pay and they decided not to accept it. That's the 3rd one that we've received since spring. So as you know, we are doing a class and comp, but we would recommend taking out the cost of living. We also would not recommend reinstating the current frozen positions or adding the new positions such as the firefighters, the Parks and Rec employees, and all the different temp employees as well. So we would recommend not unfreezing those and not reinstating. And we do have the possibility that we'd have to pull more from fund balance in order to have the balanced budget as well. Questions of the fund balance have come up before. So in fiscal year 21, the fund balance amount, the total amount, which included the reserve funds, was $15,875,730. And of that, the unassigned, unreserved, was $3,676,363. So about $3.6 million was unreserved at the end of fiscal year 21. Fiscal year 22, this is based off of the draft financial statements, the draft audit, which Ms. Johnson will go into later, the update with the audit. But the draft audit numbers are showing that our fund balance amount is $17,849,806, with $6,623,906 unassigned. But I'd just like to point out that although the fund balance did increase, that was due to the sale of the medical facilities at $1.4 million and $1.9 million of the Dominion settlement. So those are non-recurring funds that helped us have an increase in fund balance from the last fiscal year. We also received additional non-recurring funds such as Recovery Act funds, ARPA, Rural Stabilization funds. So that kind of helped out a little bit, but we won't receive any more ARPA funds, and we're not receiving another settlement from Dominion unless you know something that I don't. And the ARPA was about $4.3 million that we received a one-time influx. And then there was a $1 million budget adjustment that was done in the budget year to cover the relocation into the new government complex. County Council passed an ordinance to transfer $1 million to move into this. That money was reallocated from fund balance. And then in this fiscal year, since July 1 of last year, County Council has approved 4 mid-year budget adjustments that pull from fund balance that total on average about $2.9 million. All of those were not recurring funds, but some of them are, such as the cost of living that was given in previous years, money that was given to the sheriff's office, that kind of stuff. And those budget ordinances were all passed between July 1 and January 1, those budget amendments. So before I close, were there any questions that you all may have had? All right.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Fairfield County, along with other counties, can take a certain amount of increase per year, correct?
Correct.
What is that amount?
This year, the county was able, we could go up to a 12.92 millage increase. But the recommendation was just to do the 8 instead of the full that the county's allowed to do.
Now, is that a combination of the past 6 or 7 years that council has not taken the increase?
That's just every year we get a report from the Association of Counties that show consumer price index based off inflation, what percent increase we could go up. So that's just based off of the recommended percent increase that the county could go up this year. It does not include if we look back, because you are allowed to look back a certain number of years if you haven't done an increase, and we would possibly be able to increase higher if we were to look back.
Do you know what the amount is roughly per year that the council could have took over the years?
Historically, it's usually averaging around 1% to 2% because inflation hasn't been so high. The last 2 years, it's been the highest. It was 4% last year and about 8% or so this year, which averages to that 12.92.
Can I ask a question? Can you just go over this one more time? In the year 21, we had $15.8 million and 3.6 was unrestricted.
That's correct.
And in 22, we had 17.8 million and 6.6 was unrestricted.
That's correct.
Now, can you tell me with these up here that we got, the Arbor, Dominion, 1.9, 1.4, 3.3, where we would have been had we not gotten that?
When we looked at it, so the increase was about gross, about a $3 million increase, but about about 2 million came down?
Well, from 21 to 22, the increase in the fund balance in total is $2 million. And the $2 million, like Ms. Williams said, it came from 2 major things. It came from the sale of the medical facilities, and it came from the Dominion cash payment. The Dominion cash payment was $1.9 million by itself. Okay, and the medical facilities, like Ms. Williams said, is $1.4 million. So I think what you're asking is if we didn't have ARPA and all of those projects, 1 or 2 things, you just wouldn't have been able to do the projects that you approved with the $4.3 million. And if the council did approve those, then all of those funds, all of those expenses, that would have hit fund balance. If council decided to approve those particular projects that they approved under ARPA. So the reason those projects were approved is because you had additional funds of $4.3 million coming into the county. So you were able to do a lot more with those funds, to do some additional. You did buy some vehicles with the ARPA funds that because you didn't approve vehicles in the current budget. You were able to do some mini parks, I believe, because those things were not approved in the budget. You gave a bonus to employees because those were not approved in the budget. So there were some things that you did do with that council did approve the $4.3 million for, but if council had still decided that they wanted to do those items and didn't have the additional monies coming in, yes, all of it would have come from fund balance.
So then it would have been 17.8 minus 4.4, so then that would have been 13.4 left.
If they decided to use it. And then you had the rural stabilization, which was $330,000 that has been used as well. So you could say 4.6, 4.5, 4.6 additional funds. So that's why you can see from one year to the next, there's not really a decrease in fund balance because the council received other sources of revenue to accomplish some projects that it had approved. So again, without that monies, either council would have not approved those projects, not approved those capital purchases, renovations, et cetera, or they would have approved some or if not all of them, and then it would have impacted your fund balance. Because if you don't have other sources of revenue coming in, then you're gonna use your fund balance.
Now, one of the other things that I think was done to kind of save money with the Dominion settlement was that we restructured the bond deal.
Yes, ma'am.
And that has a recurring savings of over $300,000 a year.
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
And then the Rural Stabilization Fund is ongoing, is it not?
Yes,
So
we're supposed to get some funding in the upcoming year as well.
So we're looking at least $600,000 that's going to be at least recurring in whatever budget that we propose.
Yeah, whenever we get the approved amount of those funds, we bring that back to council.
Thanks.
And question I have is, not particularly for this right now, but for the future, I don't know if we can look into how do we compare in funding outside agencies. I think I mentioned this to you.
Yes, sir, you
Ms.
did.
Johnson. What was that, 2 million? How much was the outside agency? Anyway, we fund quite a number of them, and it's a considerable amount of money. And I just wonder how, and not now because we got too much on the plate, but going forward, how do we compare with other counties going forward funding outside agencies? I know there are a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of money out there.
Yes, sir, you had mentioned that to me, and we were going to look into that, but it wasn't enough time for
Right.
this budget to actually go through
Right.
to do that.
So I just want to wrap up by saying that, again, with this budget, the county's costs for supplies, equipment, insurance, services, the rent for this place have all increased with no additional revenue except for the non-recurring revenue we mentioned previously. There was a recommend to do an 8 mil increase to help offset the costs, but that won't offset all the costs. In the first budget letter, I think we pointed out that if the council was to approve the 8 mil increase with the current collection rate, it would only give us about $1.2 million. So with the 8 mil increase, we're looking at, with a 96% collection rate, an additional $1.2 million that would come into the county. Fund balance.
Oh, I'm sorry. And a total budget amount of?
Oh, I do have that. General fund. The proposed budget, just for looking at just the general fund, is $38,975,944 is a 12% increase from the prior year. And the total budget, which includes special revenues, funds, which includes grants, is $49,327,530, and increase overall the entire budget of 18% increase.
Fund balance did increase in fiscal year '22, but again, a majority of that was based off those non-recurring funds. And just also to point out that a portion of this increased millage recommendation is to go towards meeting those $3 million in capital needs through a lease purchase option. So if council were to approve the 8 mills, then a portion of that would go towards doing the lease purchase to meet the capital needs that were listed on the capital spreadsheet that you all received. Thank you.
And when it comes to the capital, as Ms. Williams had said, some changes did have to be made. First of all, we had to take the bridge replacement. With the capital request, it was about $3.8 million that was approved. $3.2 million will come from a capital lease, a lease purchase option if approved. That means that basically the entire $3.2 million is not going to be coming out of our account. It would be payments over 7 years that we would pay for those items. And some of the things like the bridge replacement, of course, council would have to pay for that out of the general fund rather than it being under a lease purchase, along with basically like mowers. So the lease purchase option, like I said, 7 years, it would be approximately $500,000 a year for that. When we originally talked, it was estimated to be $750,000. That's gone down to $500,000, but you will be able to get the items that you have in front of you on the capital list, all of which we discussed in detail during our budget work sessions.
Okay, the chairman had to step away for an emergency phone call. We're down to item 7, public comment session. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Yes, 2 persons signed up to speak. First person, Valerie Clowney.
I'm Valerie Clowney from District 2. I want to start off by what is a government's basic duties, whether they're elected or whether they're employed. A government's basic functions are to serve the people by providing leadership, maintaining order, providing public services, providing security, including economic security. As per U.S. Census, Fairfield's population is 20,951, with the majority being 65 years and over. The median household income is $41,755, with over 20% of the population in poverty. Contrary to what mainstream media tells the public, we have a record inflation and record unemployment, and the unemployment may be for different reasons other than job availability. Some people are just unwilling or unable to work. Implementing a fee for road maintenance would be an added burden to the citizens of Fairfield County. Do we not pay taxes to maintain the roads? How do we not have money for the bare necessities, but do have money on frivolous, agenda-driven projects? Thank you.
Randy Bright.
Randy Bright, Ridgeway, District 1. 2 years in a row, we missed the audit deadline by a combined total now of probably 9 months or more. 2 years in a row, we've done the budget without a good insight into how much money we have and how much money we spent the prior year on projects. So that makes 2 bad budgets, 2 physically blind budgets. We flew for 2 years blindly because of these bad audits and our financial misreporting. During this audit update, the citizens deserve answers of what we're going to do to ensure this problem does not occur again. Whether it's personnel, whether it's software, whatever it is, we can't let this happen again. The county has been put in a deep hole because of poor financial accounting. And again, we're going to suffer in this audit. We'll talk about that because of this lack of audit in our budgeting. And we already are. We can see it during the sessions because we don't know what we have and what we spent previously. But we require answers, and we require questions, and we require citizens' input. Answer us why it happened and what we're going to do about it. We didn't get that last time. We didn't get a sense of that when we had the speaker from the audit company come here a few months ago. But the citizens deserve answers. The citizens deserve corrections to this problem so this county can move forward. We can't unless we fix this financial mess. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay, now we're down to public hearing number 8. Ms. Roberts.
Yes, sir. An ordinance to establish operating and capital budgets for the operation of the county government of Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2023, to provide for the levy of taxes for Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2023, to establish fees and service charges for Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2023, to provide for the expenditure of tax revenues and other county-related funds, and to provide for certain fiscal matters and other matters related to county government.
Be noted that the public hearing for item 8 is being opened at 6:44. Is there anyone to sign up?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. John Jones.
John Jones, District 4. First of all, it's freezing in here. Second of all, for the deputy administrator, that was a beautiful presentation. Can that be posted so that the people who it will wind up affecting will understand and see what's being done in their name? Just saying. So with that, let's play. For 4 years, I've come here and I've beat my head up against the wall. I've harangued, I've begged, I've pleaded, because generally what we'd get when we come here would be this. And it just showed the agenda. And it showed whether or not there was a first reading, second reading, or third reading. And then it was just too bad you lose. Third reading, it's a law. We've been asking. Now, we get this, what we've been asking for. Tell us what you're doing in our name, and here it is. Somebody has been listening. Tell us what the expenses are that we are having to pay for, and somebody has been listening. Here is the draft of where the expenses are going. And unlike the past when I've gotten up here, all I can do is say, thank you. Thank you for taking a step forward and showing the people what you are doing in their name. You have no idea. I waited for 3 sessions watching these things come through, wondering if it was just a fluke or just somebody made a mistake or what. And it looks like it's policy or it's become a habit. And it's so refreshing, you just wouldn't know. I don't want to know who pushed this. I really don't. I just want you to know that the people of this county appreciate it. We really and truly do. Please listen to us. And the people that are out there that are seeing this right here, get with Miss Roberts. You out there, tell your friends, get with Miss Roberts. Get on the mailing list to get these things so that when you come here, you can see what they're doing. These are your employees. You voted to put them in to do your work. And they're actually beginning to do it now. And I'm just tickled. I got 4 rows of carrots to can now. I'm going home. Thank you.
Randy Bright.
Randy Bright, Ridgeway, District 1. I, too, looked at the data contained in the South Carolina Association of Counties. And it's clear, after looking at all the data, a county that ranks the highest in per capita revenues has no business raising taxes. The county that ranks second highest in per capita county expenditures has no business raising taxes. The county that ranks first in known county general fund per capita has no business raising taxes. The county that cannot get 2 audits done back to back and cannot keep track of its financials. We can't waste tax dollar money when we don't know where it's going and we don't know how it's going to be managed. The county that doesn't realize that you don't have to cut services if you spend less money has no business raising taxes. The county that looks first to increasing efficiency, the county looks first to increasing effectiveness, they don't need to raise taxes. The county that asked during the budget sessions, each and every organization, each and every department head, what are you going to do to improve service and efficiency and effectiveness? They can look at raising taxes, but I didn't hear any of that, maybe once, with a couple of different people. But until we look towards in becoming more efficient and effective, we've got no business raising taxes. When we talk about raising taxes, previous speaker mentioned, it hits those on the lowest income the most. And as it was pointed out, it hits the renters the most. And those are generally those on the lower end of the spectrum, which we have, unfortunately, a lot. We need to really think about this raising taxes because we're in no position right now to be raising taxes. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
This part of the session is closed at 6:50. Now we go to item B.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. An ordinance of Fairfield County Council so as to provide for the creation of the County Road Maintenance Fund, the recurring imposition of a road maintenance fee, and the use of the revenues collected from the road maintenance fee and other matters related thereto. One person signed up to speak, Randy Bright. Tom, you gotta open it. Does he have to open this?
Randy Bright, District 1.
One second, please. We open this up at 6:51.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Get my 4 seconds back. I won't need them. Okay, thank you. Randy Bright, District 1, Ridgeway. Really, I just have one question about this. Why? Why are we creating another bureaucracy? Why are we creating something that's requires more work to do, that's inefficient? Why? Why do we have to go this route? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing that we need another bureaucracy. Maybe put somebody else on the payroll. In all seriousness, I don't understand why we're carving out something that we could be doing during the budget process. And of course, the budget process should require, I should say, a lot more scrutiny. I don't know. I don't know if we're hiding something or why, but there's nothing in the literature that explains why. So it's a mystery to me why we need more bureaucracy. We need less bureaucracy. We need to be more efficient. We need to be more effective. And this doesn't do it. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
It's closed at 6:53. We're down to item 9, the ordinance, second read, ordinance number 812.
The ordinance to establish operating and capital budgets for the operation of the county government of Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2023, to provide for the levy of taxes for Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2023, to establish fees and service charges for Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2023, to provide for the expenditure of tax revenues and other county-related funds, and to provide for certain fiscal matters and other matters related to county government.
Can I get a motion?
I make a motion.
Can I get a second? Any questions? Cool.
Discussion.
We
Council, you received a motions list of everything that we talked about during the budget work sessions. And all of those have already been included in this particular budget, the budget numbers, with the exception of a last request that came in from the tax auditor's office. Sorry. Council, you have a motions list that was sent before you. All of these items, with the exception of the last one, was already included in the budget. As we went through the budget work sessions, we discussed each one of these items: the meal increase, new positions, reinstating frozen positions, some additional capital expenditures, such as the ladder truck. The only thing that was not included, well, also the lease purchase and the cost of living increases. And the only thing that was not, I think everybody has their list. So the only thing that we did not discuss, which was a new request that just came in a few days ago, was a request from the incoming tax auditor for a temp position.
Apologize, Mr. Chair. Based upon the information that the administrator has given us, going forward, the items that were previously listed as being included in the budget are already in the budget as presented for second reading. Therefore, no motions will need to be made as it relates to those issues. The final issue that was just discussed the request from the incoming tax auditor for a temporary position. Inasmuch as that is not included in the budget, that would need to have a motion to amend ordinance number 812 in order to include that. And the information that I've just received indicates that the additional temp position would cost an additional $16,000 to the budget.
Can we get a motion for the amendment? Second. No second? Dies. That motion dies. Okay, now back to the original motion. All in favor, say aye. The opposers, nay? Nay. Okay, raise your hand. Okay, it's 3-3.
Mr. Chair, I think given the circumstances, it may be best just to go on the record and also not only have a voice vote, but a hand vote. So that way, for purposes of the, for the record, we've got obviously the video as well as for the public here. Okay. That way we can be 100% certain.
That's Vice Chair.
For purposes of this discussion,
the ayes, show of hands, please. The opposed, show of hands. The record show is 3-3.
And what ends up happening, Mr. Vice Chair, in a vote of 3-3, that's a tie vote. Therefore, it does not pass with a positive majority as required by the organizational bylaws. The second reading of ordinance number 812 has failed to pass on a tie vote 3-3.
Okay. All right, we're down to, are we good? We're down to item 9, second reading of ordinance 8, oh, no, I apologize. We're down to item B, second read of ordinance 813. Ms. Robert.
An ordinance of Fairfield County Council so as to provide for the creation of the County Road Maintenance Fund, the recurring imposition of a road maintenance fee, and the use of the revenues collected from the road maintenance fee and other matters related thereto.
Can we get a motion on that?
So move, Mr. Vice Chair.
Second. Any second on that? Motion died. None. 11, board and commission appointments, none. Old business, none. New business, none. Number 14, county administrative report. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, council, again. Our very own Miss Albertha Woodard is the 2023 Woman Veteran of the Year. Miss Alberta, come on up. This award recognizes women veterans who have gone above and beyond in helping our veterans in finding resources and obtaining benefits and services. She was actually surprised and recognized at a banquet in Charleston on June 10th. Sorry we couldn't be there, it was for veterans only. Ms. Woodard, we congratulate you on receiving this prestigious award, and we thank you for your service to this country and to Fairfield County. Want to get a picture?
Again, we'd like to say congratulations. Now we're down to item 16, second public comment. Oh, I apologize. Ahead of the game.
The year-to-date budget update, council, I gave you guys some budget reports. If we could please look at those. Okay, this is a budget report of revenues and expenditures from July 2022 to May 31st, 2023. This is a monthly report that we're going to start giving you. The first one is budget by account classification. Is not this one. This particular one is not by department. It's by account classifications, which is the categories that is in the budget. For example, taxes, bank collection, court fees and fines. It sums all of those up. So you can see the amended budget, the original budget, amended budget, our current month transactions. That's what has been collected this particular month that we're going through, which is May, and the year-to-date transactions, and then the balance. The same thing with expenses. For example, personnel services, contractual services, supplies and materials. It's by categories. So you can see in total for the general fund what those expenses are in total for all of the departments. The second report that's attached behind that gives by department the same information, but it's by department in total. So, for example, county council, you have the adopted budget, again, the amended budget, the current month transactions, the year-to-date transactions, and what the balance is in that account. The next to the last column shows the percentage of the actual budget that has been used. If you go to the second page, in total from July to May 2023, the amounts that are highlighted, actual revenues, $29,595,706, actual expenditures, $28,677,611. So you'll be getting these reports each month, and also, I think it was the earlier part of May, we already had put these similar types of reports online on our site under the finance tab. So we went back and put January through April there, and May is coming. So if you need more detail than this on a department, then just let us know. We can do that. I didn't think you would want 100+ pages every month. So this is a summary for you to look at, and if you want to drill down to a certain department, we can drill down to that particular department and get all the details for that department. Okay, and next is our audit update. I sent an email to council talking about June 20th to have an audit. Then I received an email basically stating that the auditors could come, but they will be working off a draft. I told them that was unacceptable. So now they've given me the date of maybe the 22nd or the 27th, and I feel that if it's still in draft on the 20th, it's going to be draft on the 22nd. So the only other option then is the 27th. The reason that it would still be in draft form on the 20th is because it has to go through 3 additional reviews by the auditing staff. They go, our auditor did the work, then it goes on to another supervisor or manager where they trace everything in the audit report back to our trial balance just to make sure that nothing was picked up incorrectly. So it's going to have to go through 3 reviews before they issue it as a final. So, but what I would like to say is we've had the draft for about a week, a little bit over a week, and we have been going through the audit, the draft audit. We've been tracing numbers. We found some discrepancies, and that was mostly due to the fact that with all the paperwork going back and forth, emails going back and forth, early on during the audit, there could have been a AJE, which is a adjusting journal entry, that was prepared on our side that they never received or they overlooked. So we've been going through looking at, comparing the numbers, looking at variances, and when we look at the variance, we determine what it is, and most of the time we found that it's a AJE. So we can, based on this and looking at the numbers and the presentation that Ms. Williams had gone over and looking at the fund balance that we see, yes, I do believe we can pass a budget looking at these particular numbers because they are tying back to our numbers. At any time, council, finance can produce a fund balance report for what we can see at any point in time. And so it's not that we didn't know what our fund balance was. We know what our fund balance is, but an audit is verification. They're looking at our processes, our procedures, and they're looking at all of our transactions to see if they are recorded properly, if they're recorded at all, did we overlook something? So it's a verification of what we've done. That's why it's an audit. So we've always known what our fund balance is. We just needed to make sure based on what they have reviewed that our fund balance is accurate. And I did mention when I first came here about transactions that were not recorded in the GL. I never said they weren't in the bank. They were just not recorded, and these weren't general fund amounts. They were amounts that were going to be, they were already in a separate bank account, some in escrow accounts. So those are the items. Some were bond proceeds. Those were the items that were omitted from the GL that just needed to be recorded so it can show properly in our audit report. So now we're pretty much at a point of, I guess, waiting till the 27th to get a final and get a presentation done, have a presentation.
Yeah, Ms. Johnson, I think I'd talk to you about this going forward. We're bound with this audit firm for the next year, is that right?
Actually, they're under a 3-year contract, actually. It was signed, this is their first fiscal year preparing an audit for us. It had to be.
And
okay, but we can go and look at it.
okay.
Look at the contract.
And so are you satisfied, not very satisfied, or how do you feel with them? You've done this a lot.
Well, I came in midstream, so it's kind of hard to gauge because it was errors on both parts.
I understand.
And that's why it's rather hard to gauge because they didn't get everything they needed at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so it's somewhat hard to gauge right now.
But you're engaging with them to get started so that we will absolutely be done by the end of December.
I actually told them when we seal the deal on this audit, I wanted them to start the next day.
Okay.
On the next audit, so we can get it done.
Okay, thank you.
That's your report?
Thank you.
Okay, item 15, clerk of court report, none. Item 16, second public comment session. Ms. Roberts.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Several persons signed up to speak. First person, Valerie Clowney.
Okay, Valerie Clowney. Let's just start off by saying if the county is having a hard time making ends meet, how do you think the citizens are doing? We've already established that we're at 20% poverty, and that was 2020 and 2021, so it's probably a little bit worse now. All right, so what I want to speak on is the food security for Fairfield County. And Oxford defines a food desert as an area in which it is difficult to buy affordable or good quality fresh food. I'd say Fairfield County qualifies by that term. We have 2 grocery stores that serves the whole county. And speaking with the store managers, I spoke with both the store managers today. One manager said that the current situation for sustainability is pretty bad, and that's his words. He says in less than 6 months, they've had a lost inventory close to $50,000. So how is a business going to stay in business when they're losing $50,000 every 6 months? And when asked if the theft could cause the store to close, the answer was he could not say that it was not a possibility, but that short term it is causing the prices to increase. And the other manager that I talked to says that he has seen an increase of at least 25% of theft. And he also stated, as far as the store closing, it's up to corporate on how much they're willing to lose. So what is this council and the administration doing to make sure that the citizens have access to good quality food? Right now, the Council on Aging is signing seniors up for senior vouchers to get fresh quality fruits and vegetables. And this year, I understand that the amount given has increased. Is this council and administration supporting that effort? And are you aware seniors only can use these vouchers at local farmers markets and farm stands? And one of the things that we could do is creating a food sovereignty through community-driven solutions should be a top priority for this council and administration. That can be done by supporting local farms that are providing products and supporting the local farmers market that brings local farmers and consumers together to be able to have the fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's all I have.
Sylvia Harrison.
Good evening, Sylvia Harrison, Ridgeway, District 1.
And I'm Calissa Willingham Douglas, District 7.
On behalf of myself, Sylvia Harrison, Calissa Willingham Douglas, and the Coalition of Churches, which is better known as CUF, we are here again to invite you to our first Juneteenth parade and celebration on this Saturday. Parade lineup is at 9, parade starts at 10, and the festivities will begin thereafter around 11 o'clock. Most of you know on June 19, 2021, Juneteenth is the newest federal holiday on the calendar. We celebrate this day freeing of slaves in Texas on June 19, 1865. Our group is about bringing people together and bringing a positive image into our community. I've stood here before council, invited you to participate in these different activities we're having. Only maybe 1 or 2 has responded. None of you have responded. And as an elected official, and I am also myself, I know that we need to be more visible in our community. We need to stay and have positive things going on in our community, and you need to be there to support things that are going on. So on behalf of CUF, we invite you again. We thank you. We hope to see you on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy Ray Douglas.
I'll have to agree with most of the speakers tonight. We do need more transparency. I know that when everybody runs for office, they say, vote for me because this council is not transparent enough and we need to get it changed, and I'm going to do it if you vote me in. But nobody ever does it because they don't, I guess they don't believe that we need to know what they're doing in the shadows and the shade and stuff, but something needs to be done about it. You know, if we had a wastewater treatment plant, we would probably have a Volvo or the Scout Electric Company here in Fairfield County already. A Cedar Creek plant could be built in 2 years. If built on the Broad River, it would take 7 to 9 years because running a 24-inch sewer line could only be installed when the landowners were notified for approval. This line would cost $300 to $350 a linear foot to run. The engineer that y'all have been talking to, I imagine you still have him here, Mr. Bigham, he wants to plant in Jenkinsville because he is qualified to only build a low-level treatment plant. We don't need a low-level treatment plant. We need something big to help the county in the future and now too. The Cedar Creek treatment plant has been approved by DHEC, and Department of Commerce has been helping us, and they'll help us even more if we put it at Cedar Creek. Thomas & Hutton has already done a PVR report, and one has not been supplied by Mr. Bigham. All of his numbers are suspect. The Broad River low-level treatment plant would be cheaper, but triples in price by running the lines and would cost $600,000 annually just for maintenance. Thank you.
Randy Bright.
Randy Bright, Ridgeway, District 1. Whatever happened to the employee survey that we were going to dig in and start treating the employees right? We're still getting turnover. Money's not always the option. It's usually not the real resolution. It's how you treat employees. Do you treat them with respect? Do you give them growth opportunities? Do you give them proper guidance? Do you encourage them? What's the plan? This survey was done some time ago, and I keep hearing lip service on this, and nothing happens. So what's going to happen? We're going to continue to have turnover, we're going to continue to struggle, and we're going to continue to flail. We need to get a hold of this cancer before it continues to spread. We need to stop it. We need to address the employees' needs. They've told you what they want. We just got to take care of it. Part of the problem is we've had what? 5 administrators in the last 3 years? And that's created chaos. That's created lack of efficiency, lack of effectiveness, and major turnover, which is so very costly to the citizens and to the county. So what are we doing about an administrator? Whatever happened to the plan? We knew back in January that we were going to need a new administrator by July. What's the plan? Yes, I know we got some recruiters that we're looking at, but why haven't we contacted other organizations like the Association of Counties? Why haven't we published reports, advertised for it? Blythewood did. They got a ton of applicants. They're right next door, and they got a lot of good ones. Why can't we do that? Why can't we have a sense of urgency? We've seen the problems not having an administrator, not having a good administrator, not having a good process to hire an administrator. We've seen those problems, yet whatever happened to resolving those problems? It's on the back burner along with the employees, unfortunately. I know you guys will straighten it out. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Now we're down to county council time. Do we have any council member that wish to speak? Ms. Green?
To certainly Mrs. Johnson, to Mrs. Williams, And again, to Ms. Mosey, I know how difficult it has been the last few months, trying to certainly work with auditors to get a report. There's simply no way that I can vote on a budget until I know how much money we have and what the audit says. And that's just one of the kinds of things that I think is certainly necessary in prudent management. I know how hard you guys have been working to get that. I just think that, we need that audit report so that council can make decisions that are going to benefit the citizens of Fairfield County.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the administration too. I know y'all been working hard and I appreciate y'all's hard work. I really do. And I guess maybe in the next month or so after all this is settled, we'll get back to the animal ordinance meeting again. And this is another, I had a request from somebody not in my district, and this area is not in my district, and I'm not familiar with it really, but Scotts Crossing Road, there's a creek, this block, and I think on one end is access to the recycle center. And anyway, I had a request if you could look into that. I don't know how long it's been closed, but and I had another request, and this was in my area, that and I don't know the best way to handle it, but most of this is about recycle employees, and most of them I think are very, very good, and they assist people that need help. But apparently there may be some that don't, because I got a call about it, and somebody saw an elderly person and they had to help them because the others employees didn't, or wouldn't. I don't know exactly, but if there'd be a way to address that and just ask that they assist citizens that really need help. And one other thing, I don't know if it was done. If it was, I'm not aware of it. Proclamation for probate judge Pam Renwick that retired. Is that?
Yes, it was offered. She declined.
Okay. All right. I didn't know. Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a question for the Morgan. What happens if we don't pass the budget by June 30th?
All right, Mr. Vice Chair, members of council, what happens is that, it's a very good question, because the state statutes 4-9-10, which is known as the Home Rule Act, is what grants the powers to the political subdivisions such as counties, what they can and can't do. It provides the rules for how they're supposed to operate. And they're required to pass an annual operating budget by the end of their fiscal year, which would be June 30th. You will notice, for example, where sometimes it's the federal government or the state government, they get at an impasse and they can't pass that budget, and they're authorized to pass what's known as a continuing resolution. And basically that's, in essence, allows for the government to continue to operate at last year's levels, and so that way they have the time to go forward and come to a consensus for the new budget. Home Rule Act doesn't provide for counties to be able to pass continuing resolution. It just states you have to pass a budget. So at this point in time, if council were unable to come to a budget, I don't want to say I don't know the answer to that question, but I don't know functionally. I think the council could find itself in a situation where it could continue to go forward with last year's expenditures, but there may be a question about the validity of even doing that. Should council wish to go forward and pass a budget this year, by the end of this fiscal year, there are two statutes that are really going to be driving the process, and that's 4-9-120 and 4-9-130. And I'm going to kind of take them backwards. 4-9-130 requires for notice of public hearing in 15 days when you pass certain ordinances, not all ordinances, but just certain ones, one of which is an ordinance which would levy taxes, in other words, a budget. So there has to be 15 days notice and an opportunity for public hearing in order to ultimately pass the budget on third and final. If you do kind of the math on the calendar in order to get a notice of public hearing to the newspaper, that could be done no later than Thursday or Friday of this week. That would allow for the notice of public hearing and the public hearing to take place on either June 29th or June 30th. That would be an ultimately third and final reading. Now for first and second reading, that's where 49120 comes in. And that allows for first and second reading to basically, they are allowed to take place 24 hours apart. You could theoretically have first reading, I'm just making up something, on a Monday and second reading on a Tuesday. But the statute requires 7 days in between second and third, or third and final reading. So again, kind of going back to the math, if third reading's on June 29th, then second reading has to take place no later than June 22nd. And then you could theoretically do it on the 22nd, the 20, whatever. You have 24 hours in between first and second reading. And then likewise, if third and final is on June 30th, then that second reading has to be done no later than June 23rd. And then again, there's that 24-hour requirement between first and second reading. So should council wish to go forward and try to get a budget passed, it's on a little bit more of a time crunch schedule at this moment. Hopefully that explains the process.
Any question from Attorney Morgan? I would like to, well, first of all, I'm asking everyone to send up your prayers for our chairman. He had an emergency call. Family member was in an accident, so he had to leave. So let's pray for his family, him and his family. But I'd like to address a comment that was made in the voice about the budgeting process that needs to be needs correction and clarifications. Before the budget is presented to council, the departments have to make a request to the finance department. Then finance and administration meets with each department director to discuss their budget requests in detail, every line item. The department director are questioned about their line items. If their request is not in line with the past year expenses, they must justify the increase or decrease. Yes, there are standards in which budget requests are too low based on historical data, and they are increased. Capital requests and personnel requests are also must be justified in writing. Each council member receives a budget binder that includes budget implications that it lists. This is a list of increases that we cannot control, we have no control over, such as retirement and insurance. A list of personnel requests and capital requests that the departments justify their requests to administrator, and again during the budget work session. The administrator makes a recommendation, but council makes the final decision. A budget report of each line item in the budget shows that the current year's budget and the administrator's recommendation, the amount of increase, decrease, and the percentage change. We had the opportunity to ask the department and administration about any of these line items and about the department's operation, and we did. The summary by the department comparing to the total current year budget to the budget request, along with the explanation in the increase or decrease 5% and above. Yes, a lot of planning and detailed reviewing of the budget is done before it gets to us. Finance and administration meets with the director about 2 weeks, reviewing their budget, compiling and entering budget information to the very lengthy process that it takes even longer reviewing the budget. The budget process takes months, but citizens only see the last step of the process. In favor?
Aye.
Good.